Article 680 requires electrical equipment within 3 feet of the edge of a bathtub or shower to be protected by a ground fault circuit interrupter. If the switch for the fan or light is less than 3 feet from the tub, it must be ground fault circuit interrupter protected. The ground fault circuit interrupter outlet and switch for the vanity light must also be ground fault circuit interrupter protected if they are less than 3 feet from the tub. The 3-foot rule does not apply to appliances that are permanently fastened in place, such as a dishwasher or range. It also doesn't apply to fixtures that provide light from a general illumination source, such as a ceiling light. The fan or light switch and vanity light switch do not fall under these exceptions. You must install ground fault circuit interrupter protected devices for these switches and outlets. Ensure that all electrical work is performed by a qualified electrician. Consider adding additional ground fault circuit interrupter outlets in a bathroom for added protection. Follow all applicable building codes and electrical regulations. Some jurisdictions may have more stringent requirements or interpretations of the code. It is always best to consult with a local inspector for guidance. A ground fault circuit interrupter, abbreviated as GFCI, is a crucial safety device designed to protect individuals from electrical shock. It constantly monitors the current flowing through a circuit. If it detects that the current is leaking to ground, indicating a potential shock hazard, it quickly cuts off the power supply. Ground fault circuit interrupters are especially important in areas where water is present, such as bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor locations, because water significantly increases the risk of electrical shock. The National Electrical Code, (ONEC), provides specific guidelines for ground fault circuit interrupter protection in various locations. Article 680 of the National Electrical Code focuses specifically on swimming pools, fountains, and similar installations, but the principle of using ground fault circuit interrupters in damp or wet locations extends to bathrooms as well. The ground fault circuit interrupter works by comparing the current flowing into a device with the current flowing out. Under normal circumstances, these currents should be equal. If a difference of 5 milliamps or more is detected, the ground fault circuit interrupter trips, interrupting the circuit and preventing a potentially fatal electrical shock. This tripping action typically occurs in a fraction of a second, making the ground fault circuit interrupter a very effective safety device. When installing a ground fault circuit interrupter, it is essential to follow the manufacturer's instructions and all applicable electrical codes. The ground fault circuit interrupter should be installed in an easily accessible location, and it should be tested regularly to ensure that it is functioning properly. Testing typically involves pressing the test button on the ground fault circuit interrupter, which should cause it to trip. If the ground fault circuit interrupter does not trip when the test button is pressed, it should be replaced immediately. In a bathroom setting, the National Electrical Code requires ground fault circuit interrupter protection for all receptacles located within a certain distance of a water source, such as a sink, shower, or bathtub. The specific distance varies depending on the jurisdiction, but it is typically 3 feet. This means that any receptacle located within 3 feet of a water source must be ground fault circuit interrupter protected. Additionally, any electrical devices that are likely to come into contact with water, such as hair dryers or electric shavers, should also be ground fault circuit interrupter protected. There are 2 main types of ground fault circuit interrupters: receptacle type ground fault circuit interrupters and circuit breaker type ground fault circuit interrupters. Receptacle type ground fault circuit interrupters are installed in place of a standard electrical outlet and provide ground fault circuit interrupter protection only to that outlet. Circuit breaker type ground fault circuit interrupters are installed in the electrical panel and provide ground fault circuit interrupter protection to the entire circuit. When choosing between receptacle type and circuit breaker type ground fault circuit interrupters, there are several factors to consider. Receptacle type ground fault circuit interrupters are generally less expensive and easier to install, but they only protect the outlet where they are installed. Circuit breaker type ground fault circuit interrupters are more expensive and require more effort to install, but they protect the entire circuit, providing a higher level of safety. In some cases, it may be necessary to use both receptacle type and circuit breaker type ground fault circuit interrupters to provide adequate protection. For example, a bathroom may have receptacle-type ground fault circuit interrupters installed at each outlet near a water source, as well as a circuit breaker-type ground fault circuit interrupter protecting the entire bathroom circuit. It is important to note that ground fault circuit interrupters are not a substitute for proper grounding. Grounding is a separate safety measure that provides a path for electrical current to flow back to the source in the event of a fault. Ground fault circuit interrupters and grounding work together to provide comprehensive electrical safety. In addition to ground fault circuit interrupters, there are other safety measures that can be taken to reduce the risk of electrical shock in bathrooms. These include using non-metallic electrical boxes and conduit, avoiding the use of extension cords, and keeping electrical devices away from water sources. It is also important to educate family members about electrical safety and to teach them how to recognize and avoid electrical hazards. Regular inspections of the electrical system can also help to identify potential problems before they become dangerous. These inspections should be performed by a qualified electrician. When planning a bathroom renovation or new construction project, it is essential to consider electrical safety from the outset. The electrical system should be designed and installed in accordance with all applicable electrical codes and safety standards. This includes ensuring that all receptacles and circuits are properly ground fault circuit interrupter protected and that all wiring is installed correctly. Working with a qualified electrician is the best way to ensure that the electrical system is safe and reliable. The electrician can assess the specific needs of the bathroom and recommend the most appropriate safety measures. They can also perform the installation work and ensure that everything is done properly. In addition to the safety benefits, ground fault circuit interrupters can also help to prevent damage to electrical equipment. If a ground fault occurs, the ground fault circuit interrupter will trip, interrupting the circuit and preventing the flow of current that could damage sensitive electronic devices. This can save money on repairs or replacements. When selecting a ground fault circuit interrupter, it is important to choose one that is listed by a recognized testing laboratory, such as Underwriters Laboratories, or all. This indicates that the ground fault circuit interrupter has been tested and certified to meet safety standards. It is also important to choose a ground fault circuit interrupter that is appropriate for the intended application. For example, a ground fault circuit interrupter that is used outdoors should be rated for outdoor use. The National Electrical Code is updated every 3 years to reflect changes in technology and safety standards. It is important to stay up to date on the latest code requirements to ensure that the electrical system is safe and compliant. The National Electrical Code is available from the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, and from various other sources. Local jurisdictions may also have their own electrical codes that are based on the National Electrical Code. It is important to check with the local building department to determine which codes are in effect in a particular area. In summary, ground fault circuit interrupters are essential safety devices that protect individuals from electrical shock. They are required in bathrooms and other locations where water is present. When installing ground fault circuit interrupters, it is important to follow the manufacturer's instructions and all applicable electrical codes. Regular testing of ground fault circuit interrupters is also important to ensure that they are functioning properly. By taking these steps, you can help to ensure that your bathroom is safe from electrical hazards. Remember that electrical work can be dangerous, and it is always best to consult with a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns. They can provide expert advice and perform the installation work safely and correctly. Furthermore, ground fault circuit interrupters are not foolproof. While they significantly reduce the risk of electrical shock, they do not eliminate it completely. It is still important to exercise caution when working with electricity, even when ground fault circuit interrupters are present. Never touch electrical devices with wet hands, and never use electrical devices near water sources. If you experience an electrical shock, even a minor one, it is important to seek medical attention. Electrical shocks can cause serious internal injuries that may not be immediately apparent. In addition to protecting people from electrical shock, ground fault circuit interrupters can also help to prevent fires. Electrical faults can generate heat, which can ignite flammable materials. Ground fault circuit interrupters can interrupt the flow of current before a fire can start. This is especially important in bathrooms, where there are often flammable materials present, such as towels, curtains, and toiletries. When selecting a location for ground fault circuit interrupters, it is important to choose a location that is easily accessible. This will make it easier to test and reset the ground fault circuit interrupter. It is also important to choose a location that is protected from moisture and damage. Ground fault circuit interrupters should not be installed in areas where they are likely to be exposed to water, such as directly above a bathtub or shower. It is also important to protect ground fault circuit interrupters from physical damage, such as being struck by furniture or equipment. If a ground fault circuit interrupter is damaged, it should be replaced immediately. The cost of a ground fault circuit interrupter is relatively low, especially when compared to the potential cost of an electrical shock or fire. Ground fault circuit interrupters are a worthwhile investment that can provide peace of mind and protect your family from harm. Many older homes do not have ground fault circuit interrupters installed in bathrooms. If you live in an older home, it is important to have the electrical system inspected by a qualified electrician. The electrician can determine whether ground fault circuit interrupters are needed and can install them if necessary. Adding ground fault circuit interrupters to an older home is a relatively simple and inexpensive upgrade that can significantly improve electrical safety. In addition to bathrooms, ground fault circuit interrupters are also required in other locations such as kitchens, garages, and outdoor areas. The specific requirements vary depending on the jurisdiction and the type of location. It is important to check with the local building department to determine which ground fault circuit interrupter requirements apply to your property. Ground fault circuit interrupters are an important part of a comprehensive electrical safety plan. By installing and maintaining ground fault circuit interrupters, you can help to protect yourself, your family, and your property from electrical hazards. Electrical safety is a serious matter, and it is important to take all necessary precautions to prevent accidents. Consulting with a qualified electrician is the best way to ensure that your electrical system is safe and compliant with all applicable codes and standards. The electrician can assess your specific needs and recommend the most appropriate safety measures. Remember, electrical safety is not something to take lightly. It is a responsibility that should be taken seriously by every homeowner and property owner. By being proactive and taking the necessary precautions, you can help to prevent electrical accidents and protect yourself and others from harm.